So, you can understand English native speakers. Can you also understand movies and TV shows in English? Can you understand YouTube videos just like this one? But the moment you try to speak, it feels impossible? If that sounds like you, this video is for you, because I'm going to tell you why that is and give you 6 tips to fix it. And make sure you watch the whole video so you can fix this issue forever. During my experience teaching English as a second language to my students and helping them achieve their goals, I keep seeing one problem over and over again with many of them. Oftentimes, so many English learners, many of them successful professionals working at international companies, are failing to take opportunities because they're unable to speak English, even though they understand everyone around them and find watching TV shows and movies in English perfectly fine. Have you heard of this story before? You've spent so many years studying English at school. You've passed all your necessary tests, read grammar books, and watched countless videos about everything to do with learning English. Yet after all this time, you still cannot speak, even though you understand English pretty well. Perhaps you have classmates or someone you know who attended the very same classes as you, but can speak English really well. Did they have some sort of special talent learning English? Or did they have some sort of superpower? Or maybe they're even a genius. How did they do it when you couldn't? The problem is how we learn foreign languages at school does not work for any practical use, and especially doesn't work if you want to become fluent in English. They're designed to give you just enough information, pass an exam, and nothing beyond that. The problem isn't with you or that you just can't speak English. It's just the way you've been learning English is wrong. That at school, English is taught like math or history. You learn a bunch of rules and words and suddenly you're expected to speak. So here are the 3 reasons why this happens. The first issue is the lack of immersion. In many school environments, English is treated as a subject rather than a tool for communication. As a result, many students aren't encouraged to expose themselves to the language in an immersive way. Learning English becomes an academic exercise in passing a test rather than any real-world skill. And like any skill, how are you supposed to improve it if you spend maybe 1 or 2 hours every week learning English only in the classroom, and during that time using textbooks and learning long lists of vocabulary rather than being exposed to real-world English? The next problem is the heavy focus on grammar. The traditional way of learning languages prioritizes grammar rules and mastering them, especially over practical communication. While having good grammar is important, the overemphasis in many English classes, often more so than learning vocabulary, can inhibit a student's ability to speak naturally because they're more worried about using the correct tense rather than trying to communicate in the most effective and easiest way possible for the person in that moment with that skill level instead. This results in so many of my students who are able to explain grammar rules really well, sometimes even better than me, but struggle to have a basic conversation in English, which follows well into my next reason why the way you learn English at school hasn't worked for you, and that's the overemphasis on testing. Most conventional school systems, where many of us learn a foreign language, tends to focus heavily on testing and exams, which creates stressful learning environments, and it means that many students associate making a mistake as failure while being perfect as success. As a result of this association, many of my students become scared to speak English because they associate making a mistake with failure, rather than viewing mistakes as a way to learn which parts of our language needs improvement. So many of my students have expressed that they feel pressure to memorize grammar rules and vocabulary, and are shocked when I tell them that many native speakers don't really mind if they hear a mistake. Many of them are absolutely mind blown by this. They had been taught that when they speak English, they need to be perfect, and this pressure really hurt their speaking skills. If you agree with any of these reasons, or have another reason of your own about why you can't speak English, make sure to smash that like button and comment below why you feel like you can't speak English. But the biggest and most important reason why so many of my students and many of you can't speak English is the limited focus on practical communication. In many school settings, English classes emphasize grammar, writing, and reading skills. These skills are important in their own way. However, the emphasis in academic English often neglects practical communication skills such as conversational fluency, learning the most basic and most often used grammar and vocabulary, which are crucial in real-life situations where you speak English, and for making fast progress in improving your English speaking skills. And this failure to have a lot of exposure to the language really hurts your progress. Traditionally, when we talk about how long someone has learned a language, we talk about the number of months or years someone has studied that language. But what I want to tell you, and what you need to hear, is that is the complete wrong way to think about language learning. We shouldn't think about the number of years or months someone has learned the language, because that number doesn't matter. Why? Because if you spend 15 minutes a day learning English for 2 years, your level of English won't improve as fast as someone who studies for 2 hours every day at the same time. That is why the number of weeks, months, and years doesn't matter. The only thing you should think about is the number of hours you spend studying each day. This is the single most important reason why so many of my students still struggle to speak confidently and fluently in English. Most of my students have been learning English for a very long time, but during that long time, they spent a limited time actually studying, immersing, and exposing themselves to the language. Instead, they usually only studied at their English class or with a tutor. And consistent practice and exposure are crucial for language development. So much, in fact, that the number of hours you spend learning English each month and year is the single most important indicator of how fast you will progress. This is why the Foreign Service Institute in the United States estimates how long a future diplomat learns a foreign language using hours, not months and not years. This is why so many non-native speakers fail to speak English fluently, because they don't use the language. So if you want to improve your English skills faster and want to be able to speak the language, you need to make it an important part of your life and something you do in English every day. So now you understand why this happens. Now let's learn 7 tips for actually improving your speaking skills in English. Starting with, the first thing you need to do if you want to improve your speaking skills is simple, and that is to increase the amount of time you're speaking English. But how can you do that? Where can you find people to speak with? Finding speaking partners is a powerful way for you to not only to practice your language skills, but also have the motivation of wanting to be able to express and communicate more in English. You can use apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, or italki to find language exchange partners. These platforms will connect you with English native speakers or other English learners who are interested in improving their language skills. Once you've found someone you can practice with, set up regular sessions speaking in English, or if they're a language exchange partner, spend half your time speaking English and the other half speaking your native language. Another thing you can do is to join English speaking clubs. Look online or perhaps in your own town or city where people come together regularly to practice their English skills. Many of these clubs focus on casual conversations where you can improve your more informal language, while others are more structured and have specific topics that you're encouraged to speak about at a specific meeting. By practicing with other learners, you're creating a safe space with someone who's gone through or is going through the same frustrating process of learning English as you. That will not only make you feel like you're not alone, but also feel more supported as you go through your journey. And practice with friends. If you have friends who are either fluent in English or also learning English, arrange times to meet up, and instead of speaking in your native language, try to speak in English instead, even if you're tempted to switch to your native language. This will give you valuable speaking practice that is extremely important if you're not living in an English-speaking country. Next, you want to try to speak English daily. This could be hard, especially if you've already tried finding someone to speak English to, whether it be a native speaker or someone who's already fluent. Or maybe you don't feel comfortable yet speaking English to another person. If that sounds like you, what you can do is to practice self-talk. Make it a habit to speak out loud to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing. What are your plans for the day? Talk about past events. All of this will help you think in English and improve your English skills at the same time. Narrating your day is also another way you can practice speaking English by yourself. Talk about what you're doing while you're doing them. For example, if you're cooking, describe the steps out loud in English. And if you don't know how to say something, use your phone to find the translation and then say it out loud. This reinforces everyday vocabulary and makes you feel more comfortable speaking a foreign language. Another thing is interest-based topics. So practice self-talk but with a twist. Talk about subjects you're passionate about, such as hobbies, work, or current events. This will not only make learning English more enjoyable, but will help you develop vocabulary related to your interests, making conversations more fluent and engaging when you build up the confidence to speak to another person. Now, if you're someone who wants to learn how to achieve an advanced level of English and have a deeper explanation beyond this video of how to do that, then make sure you click the link in the description and first pin comment to watch my free training that will give you many of the same tips, tricks, and advice that I give my students and that now I'm giving to you for free. Remember, link in the description and first pin comment. Inside this training, you'll get a comprehensive breakdown on how to go from limited and frustrated to super confident and fluent, so you can take advantage of all the amazing opportunities that English provides. So, if you're interested in that, make sure you click the link in the description and first pin comment and watch my free training. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. The next thing you want to do to improve your speaking ability is to focus on fluency rather than accuracy. So many of my students worry and stress that they need to speak English perfectly without any mistakes in order to start speaking. And what I always tell them is this: mistakes are one of the most important things in language learning, because they tell you which parts of your language skills you need to work on. And more importantly, for most native English speakers, we care more about understanding the message than if there are mistakes in what you've said. This is because English is the language of the world, of business, entertainment, and international communication. And because of this, we are exposed to all sorts of accents, dialects, and levels of English spoken by different native speakers. So for us, hearing someone speak English and make a ton of mistakes is normal. Most of us only care about understanding the message that you're trying to say. So what I really want you to remember is you need to focus on overcoming perfectionism. Remind yourself every day that making mistakes is a natural part of language learning. Focus on getting your point across rather than what you're saying being grammatically perfect. Over time, as you become more comfortable speaking English, your accuracy will improve naturally, especially combined with the other tips in this video. Next thing you want to do is practice positive reinforcement. After speaking English, really think about what you did well rather than focusing on your mistakes. This builds confidence and reduces your fear of speaking. You can also keep a journal and track where you've improved in English and which parts of your English you need to work on. Next is to use simple sentences. Start small, especially as you build your confidence in speaking English. And when you do speak it, focus on saying short, simple sentences when speaking. So for example, if you're working at an international company, instead of saying, "I've been working on a very detailed and complex project for several weeks now," and maybe that's how you would express it in your native language. But at the beginning of your journey improving your speaking skills, divide them up into shorter more simple sentences. So instead say, I am working on a project. It is detailed. It takes a lot of time. Although this sounds less advanced like the previous sentence, you'll be getting your point across to whoever you're speaking to and building the confidence and the experience you need in speaking English that will slowly reinforce your speaking skills and allow you to speak English with more confidence every time you speak. After you've started using these small sentences, gradually start to increase the complexity of what you say and really consider combining these smaller ideas into more complex sentences. For example, you can combine the last two sentences in the previous example and say, I'm working on a detailed project that takes a lot of time. Next, practice on rephrasing. Take a more complex sentence that you would say in your native language and rephrase it in a simpler way. This will help you develop the ability to communicate effectively in English without getting your thoughts all mixed up, trying to say something directly translated from your native language into English. Instead, rephrase and say something simpler. The shadowing technique. Next thing you want to do to improve your English speaking skills is to mimic native speakers through the shadowing technique. This means to listen to a piece of audio, like a video, a podcast, or even a TV show and movie, and try and copy as close as natively possible what the person you've chosen to copy says, really focusing on your pronunciation and accent. Listen to a sentence several times, repeating it until you can say it perfectly, and then move on to the next sentence. So the first thing you want to do is to choose the right material. Select audio and video materials that match your current level but still challenge you. You don't want to be shadowing a piece of English content that is too high of a level and that you don't really understand what's being said. This could be podcasts, YouTube videos, or TED Talks by English native speakers. Focus on material that have a few words that you don't understand and that you can learn, have clear pronunciation, and speak at a natural speed. Once you've selected your piece of audio, repeat and imitate as close as natively possible. Play the short clip, pause it, and immediately repeat what you hear, trying to mimic the native speaker's pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm as closely as possible. Repeat this process multiple times until you feel like you're speaking naturally. While you're doing this, really focus, and I want to emphasize it, really focus on your intonation and rhythm. Pay special attention to how native speakers stress certain words, pause between ideas, and use intonation to convey their meaning. Mimicking these elements will help you sound more natural and fluent. Next thing you want to do is to record yourself shadowing. I know you don't want to hear this. It is incredibly awkward and horrifying to hear yourself struggling through a foreign language, but it is also extremely important if you want to speak English at a really high level. By recording yourself shadowing, listening to it, it will help you hear the differences between what you said and what the native speaker said, and identify mistakes that you've made. So words that don't sound just right, or phrases that don't have the same rhythm as a native speaker. By doing this, you'll be shocked at how much faster progress you will make in English. Think in English. This is something that might seem really difficult or even impossible, but anyone can think in a native language. They just need to practice it. The first thing you want to do is make a mindset shift. Make a conscious daily effort to think in English rather than your native language, and really avoid translating from your native language into English when you speak English. Start with simple, easy to produce thoughts like, what should I eat, in English rather than your native language. Internal narration is another powerful thing you can do to start thinking in English. Narrate your thoughts or daily activities in your head in English. This will help develop the ability to formulate thoughts directly in English rather than forming the thoughts in your native language and then translating them into English. By doing this every single day, this will help you avoid translating in your head and allow for a quicker and more natural speech when you speak English. Language switching. If you catch yourself thinking a thought in your native language, especially a simpler thought like, where's the cat? Or, is it time for bed? Pause for a moment and try and express that thought immediately in English. Over time, this will help reduce the habit of mental translation. But the most powerful way to think in English without even trying is through immersion. Surround yourself in English as much as possible, such as listening to podcasts, reading books, or even changing your phone's language to English. The more you immerse yourself and are constantly exposed to the language, easier it will be to think in English. And you'll be surprised when you start naturally thinking in English without even trying. But it all depends on exposing yourself to the language as much as possible. A podcast or a very long video that is an hour, and try and listen to it over the day. Then next week, try and increase the daily amount of English exposure to an hour 30 and then 2 hours. By slowly increasing the amount of time you are exposed to language, the easier it will be to think in English. Expand your vocabulary. Another reason why you're not speaking English but can understand it is because most of your vocabulary is passive, which means you can understand it but can't use it. So what we need to do is to increase your active vocabulary. Learn and use new words. So each day, choose between 5 and 10 words or phrases that you want to learn. Write them down, look up their meanings, and practice using them in sentences immediately. So speak them out loud. Write sentences using them. For example, if you've learned the word meticulous, then you can say, I'm very meticulous with my work. Try and use the words every single day, speaking aloud to yourself or talking to another person in English. The more you use them, the easier it will be in the future to produce them in your own speech. Sentence practice. Write several sentences using your new vocabulary, and then try and incorporate these new sentences into your conversations. Bring a list of words or sentences before you're planning to speak English with a friend or language exchange partner, and try to find an opportunity to use them. This reinforces your memory and helps move the words from your passive vocabulary into your active vocabulary. Review and revise. Once you've done these things, remember to regularly review the words you've learned. Repetition is the key to moving words from your passive vocabulary into your active daily vocabulary. By the way, if you're enjoying the tips so far and want more videos like this, make sure to smash that like button so I know whether to make more of them in the future. Topic-based practice. When practicing speaking and improving your English skills, try and practice building the vocabulary for each individual topic rather than trying to tackle the problem and speak about every single topic that exists all at the same time. So what does this look like? At first, choose a topic of the week. If you're working on improving your English every day, then choose a topic of the day. But if you have less time, make a topic of the week that you're going to explore, selecting a specific subject such as travel, work, or hobbies. Focus on learning and expanding your vocabulary related to that topic. Speak and write about that topic during that week. So practice speaking by yourself about the chosen topic for a few minutes each day. Try and write a short essay or an entry in a diary on the topic to reinforce the vocabulary that you're learning, and really dive deep. Try and engage in conversations about that topic. Watch videos or read articles related to it, finding more vocabulary and phrases you can use to discuss and express your opinion on it. This will not only help you learn new vocabulary, but see the context in which it's used. And finally, put it all together by speaking to a language exchange partner, join a English-speaking group chat, or find an English-speaking friend and discuss that topic in detail. Really trying to use all the vocabulary, all the phrases to express your opinion and discuss the topic with that other person. By doing this, you'll really feel more confident speaking about it and be surprised at how much easier it is to discuss that topic in English with another person. You're not going to like this next tip, and that is to record yourself. No one likes hearing their own voice, but self-monitoring and really reviewing your English speaking skills is one of the most important ways you can quickly make faster progress in English. So what I want you to do is either record yourself daily or weekly, speaking about a specific topic, narrating your day, or even having a mock conversation with yourself. Listen to the recording and take notes of areas of improvement, such as pronunciation, fluency, or use of vocabulary, and try to set improvement goals. So, after reviewing the recordings, set small specific goals for your improvement. For example, if you notice that you pause, searching for words or phrases that you want to say, your goal could be to practice vocabulary and expand it by learning words related to that topic. Then, speak about that topic again and really try and focus on noticing whether those new words that you've been learning come to you easier or harder than before, and track your progress. Make sure to keep a record of your recordings over time. If there's a time that you're feeling sad and frustrated that you're not making the same sort of progress you were before, times like this are perfect to review your old recordings and really notice how much more progress you've made and how much you've improved, which will be a great motivator for you, and avoid giving up, because having a set point of where you started and which you can refer back to is a really powerful motivator and way to avoid feeling burnt out, tired, or frustrated that you're not making progress. Because whenever those feelings start to arise, you can review your old recordings where you're struggling to speak and really pat yourself on the back for all the progress you've made. Engaging in roleplay and simulate real-life conversation. Putting together everything you've learned so far might not be enough when it comes to the actual moment of speaking to a native speaker or someone who has a higher level than you. So, what you need to do is to practice in advance. Think of common scenarios and everyday situations like ordering at a restaurant, asking for directions, or making small talk. Think about what you would say and how the person would reply. If you're not sure, use resources like ChatGPT and put in the prompt simulating a conversation. Once you have what you want to say in this scenario, practice it either alone or with perhaps another person who's learning English, imagining how you would respond to each question in real life. Another powerful way to improve your career is to simulate job interviews and presentations. Practice these more formal scenarios like a job interview or giving a presentation, finding common interview questions online, or again using ChatGPT to have a mock conversation. If you want to take this tip to the next level, record yourself and play it back, identifying areas of your speech that you need to improve. If possible, have a more fluent speaker, teacher, or language exchange partner listen to your roleplay exercise and give feedback. This will help you refine your skills and become more confident in real life situations. And don't stay in your comfort zone. Expand and practice in different situations, not just the ones that I've mentioned in this video. So as you become more confident with common scenarios, challenge yourself with more complex ones, such as discussing abstract ideas or handling more complex conversations in English. By engaging deeply in the language, you'll be able to build a strong foundation for English fluency. But the key here is consistency, active practice, and a willingness to step out of your comfort. If you found these tips helpful and want my help in improving your English, then consider applying for my online English coaching program. If you want more accountability and feedback that you need in order to achieve a high level of English, then click the link in the description and book a free consultation call to see how I can help you go from limited and frustrated to super confident and fluent, so you can take advantage of all the amazing opportunities that English provides. That includes the ability to travel, get paid more, get a promotion, work at an international company, and work with English-speaking clients. So, if that's something you're interested in, make sure to click the link in the description and first pin comment to book a call and see if you're fit for the program. Now you know why so many English learners can't speak English. But what if you have a busy schedule? If that's someone like you, then watch this video here where I'm going to teach you how to make the time to learn English even if you have a full-time job, are studying, or have other responsibilities, because consistency is key. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button so I know whether to make more just like it, and subscribe if you already haven't to get more free lessons like this next week. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.